The
gentleman from Oklahoma is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank my good friend, the distinguished ranking member of the Rules Committee from California, for yielding. And I ask unanimous consent, Madam Speaker, to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in opposition to this rule and to the underlying legislation. And let me say at the outset, I respect the Rules Committee and the very important function that it carries out as a former member. But it is preeminently, as it should be, the Speaker's committee. And in this case, I believe the Speaker has presented us with legislation in a format that's unlikely to win significant minority support and participation. And frankly, that's unfortunate, Madam Speaker, because I think it's avoidable. There's much in the current situation that, frankly, the two parties in this body agree on. We agree that we're in a serious recession. We agree that dramatic federal response is required to deal with job loss and the mounting economic challenges we face. We agree that tax cuts are an important part of that solution. We have some disagreement over which ones and how much, but clearly it's an area we can find common ground on. We agree that infrastructure is important to moving us forward, although I regret there's very little of this bill, frankly, that deals with infrastructure. Less than 10% in total actually goes to infrastructure spending. I think that's something we could find common ground on and enlarge. We disagree, quite obviously, over a whole range of other spending issues, which constitute over half the bill. In our opinion, the spending is simply too much. There are too many new programs that have not been authorized and gone through the appropriate committee process. There are unsustainable spending in this program, things like Pell Grants, IDEA money that's good, but frankly will ramp up and then immediately crash down, or we'll set ourselves up for a future tax increase, which I don't think anybody, certainly on my side of the aisle, is anxious to do. So there are areas of agreements and disagreements. Madam Speaker, it's not too late to find common ground. We could defeat this rule and ask the Rules Committee to send us back 3 items that we could consider sequentially and separately. We could root out the bad programs. We could find common ground. We could find common ground on tax cuts. We can find common ground on infrastructure. I ask the gentleman, may I have a...
Madam Speaker, I'm happy to yield to my good friend, the former Rules Committee member and a great appropriator, an additional minute.
Gentleman's recognized for another minute.
I thank the gentleman. Madam Speaker, we could then have our disagreements over the spending portion of the bill. We could vote on each of these items separately. They could later be merged and sent on as a separate bill. And in that process, we would find significant bipartisan participation and agreement. But unfortunately, the rule under which we're likely to bring the legislation to the floor is going to make that impossible and give us the old partisan debates that the country would like to see us move past. So I would ask my colleagues to reject this rule and ask my capable friends on the Rules Committee in both parties to go back and to give us the type of process and the type of bill that will yield a bipartisan outcome, a bipartisan victory. That's what the country wants. That's what America needs. That's what the President has asked us to do. That's what we're capable of doing if we will address this matter in the appropriate manner. So I urge the rejection of this rule and the beginning of a bipartisan process where we can find so much common ground. With that, I yield back.
Gentleman yields back his time. Gentleman from Massachusetts.